Welcome back to 301 Banter. Today we're joined by a standout between the pipes who's made his waves across Minnesota high school hockey and beyond. Over 3 seasons at Benilde-St. Margaret's, he posted a stellar 50, 19, and 1 record with a 1.97 goals against average, a .904 save percentage, while tallying 11 shutouts. He then took his talents to the NAHL with the Fairbanks Ice Dogs, where he continued to shine with a 31, 17, and 2 record, a .244 goals against average, a .904 save percentage, and 2 shutouts. He's not just a force on the ice. He's also made a name for himself behind the mic as a Minnesota high school hockey announcer. Mason McElroy joins 301 Banter right now.
Welcome to 301 Banter, a show having conversations with the finest athletes across Minnesota. We delve into the trials and tribulations of the athletes, coaches, and broadcasters that make the sports world in Minnesota tick. So whether you're a diehard sports fan or just curious to learn about different people, join us for discussions and behind-the-scenes glimpses into Minnesota's vibrant sports community.
Mason McElroy, welcome to 301 Banter here.
Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure. We've been trying to set this one up for some time now, so
yeah.
Glad we found.
Glad the time zones finally worked in our favor here.
Right.
So you obviously grew up here in Minnesota. You're playing in Alaska now. But we'll start back at the beginning. What initially drew you to the sport of hockey and goaltending specifically?
Yeah, Chuck, I think just, growing up in Minnesota, whether you want to be around hockey or not, that's kind of just what Minnesota's all about. So from an early age, whether it was a Wild game on or just being at a Providence Academy hockey game, or my dad was an athletic director for a long time at Apollo High School in St. Cloud. So I thought it was the coolest thing going to those Apollo games when I was just a little tyke and watching warm-ups and getting to get a puck from one of the players and thinking, wow, high school hockey is kind of the end-all be-all of the sport. And then to see a Wild game in person, it was just pretty quick falling in love with that. And then the position, a lot of that is credited to Jonathan Quick. Growing up, he was kind of the guy to watch, whether it was the Sochi Olympics or just him on a random Wednesday night making the highlight reel saves for the Kings.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he had two. It was a big part of two Stanley Cup runs for the Kings, and
right
around that Sochi Olympic time too.
Yep.
So everyone remembers TJ Oshie for that shootout against Russia, but they
unreal. But he was making the saves on the other end.
Got a goaltender down at the other end that kept him in it too. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and again, that was against Datsuk and Kovalchuk and these Russian legends too. So
and Bobrovsky was manning the pipes on the other end, so not like it was a slouch that Oshie scored on 4 or 5 times or whatever.
It was unbelievable looking back at that. Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Quick's a good one to, and he's a backup now, but he's still plugging away in the league and. Yeah.
Yep. Has to be probably the best American-born goaltender. I think Hellebuck's going to start rivaling him with that gold medal here, but I think Johnny Quick's just nobody's really.
I think the real question will come into account if Hellebuck can get a Stanley Cup. I think that's
right. I think that's
now what's separating Quick and Hellebuck, and then it'll be more of a debate if he can hoist a Stanley Cup, but.
I think he'll have to wait till next year to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
With the way things look.
Fortunately for him. But you grew up, like you said, grew up playing hockey in Minnesota. What are your earliest memories of you have talked about watching hockey and watching the high school hockey in Minnesota, and obviously the Olympics too. And what are your earliest memories of actually playing hockey?
Oh, earliest memories. I kind of got a late start on actually playing hockey. It was around second grade that I actually was in organized hockey. So my earliest memories are of playing mini sticks with my dad and begging him to play goalie. And if you've seen my dad, he filled up that net pretty quick. So it wasn't easy getting any past him, but that's kind of where the love of the game really started. Wasn't even on the ice. It was just off the ice, messing around with mini sticks. And then getting into actually playing hockey, my earliest memory is back in St. Michael mini mites, seeing my dad on the other end of the rink. And I was nervous before my first time getting on. So I tried to, with my skates on, walk across the bleachers, the metal bleachers, about 200 feet, the length of a hockey rink, to see my dad, and got halfway and a parent grabbed me and was making a big joke of whose kid this was. So first memory wasn't the ideal memory, but learned pretty quick not to walk on the metal with the skate blades.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And a lot of those are feel like a lot of Minnesotans have the same kind of hockey origin story, if you will, where it's um high school watching the high schoolers play and playing mini
Yeah.
sticks or pond hockey in the backyard or your friend's backyard, or whatever it is. And
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
a lot of the non-organized games are
Yeah,
what get you into the sport too. Um,
absolutely.
so then you ended up playing high school hockey at Benilde-St. Margaret's.
The
Um,
Red Knights.
yeah, the Red Knights. Yeah, and you guys were in, I think arguably the toughest section in double A,
Yep.
which, see, double A being the tougher of the two classes. You could make the argument that it's the toughest section in just all of high school hockey.
Yep.
How did playing at BSM and playing in a section like that help prepare you for the next level?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think Section 6 is the most competitive year in, year out section there is from across A and double A. I think when I was playing, and probably still, the only section that really rivaled it was 2A with Eden Prairie, Minnetonka. Chan was really good at the time, um, and all those teams. But my senior year, the top 5 seeds in the state were Minnetonka was 1, Wayzata was 2, Edina was 3, we were 4. So 2, 3, and 4 are 1, 2, and 3 in Section 6. So you're in some way, we were 20 wins, 4 losses, and 1 tie. And in a lot of ways, going into the section tournament, we were David going up against Goliath. And so it was pretty remarkable that you could have a season like that and be the 3rd seed in your section, and having to not only beat Edina, and well, if you get past Edina, guess what? That's not the ticket punching game. That's the game to get to the game to make it to the XL, now the Grand Casino. But
The XL.
yeah, right. Playing in those types of environments is kind of exactly what it is here, like in Alaska. Um, it's the same rowdy fans, and probably more rowdy here because there's beer in the stands, and it's not high school hockey anymore. But just those big boy type of games definitely prepared mentally, physically, and just overall emotionally for what was in store coming up to the 49th state here. Um, and some of my most favorite memories playing in Bloomington Ice Garden, even though it was a loss all 3 years to the Edina Hornets, those 3 games are super special.
Yeah. It's yeah, it's the iron sharpens iron, and it's
Yeah,
playing against the better teams are what actually gets you better. It's not, if you're a
right,
senior putting up 10 points against a no-name team. It's like
right.
you
Like
can
like
put
a
it, you
like a
can put up
Rochester
10
Lourdes.
if you can put up 10 points against Edina, then you're going to be
Yeah,
pretty good. But
absolutely.
um yeah, no, it's um yeah, and the your senior year again reminds me of my senior year of high school too. I was section 2 of class single A, and that was Hermantown was number 1, that year. Breck was number 2, Delano was number 3.
Yeah,
That was like
yeah,
Ben Meyers senior year too. And so Delano was a nasty team, and
yeah,
that section final was Delano versus Breck. And I'm like, that easily could have been the state championship. So,
right,
and it felt
right,
like any of those years in section 6 AA could have been like the semifinals, or the finals could have been the state championship easily.
right. Yeah, it's unfortunate, and to help that out, they threw Rogers in there this year to make it even better.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they're not making it any easier, but if you can get through that gauntlet of a section, you're more than prepared to enter the XL and get wins there.
For sure. For sure. Um, so you also played baseball at Benilde-St. Margaret's. How did some of those skills that you had to work on and get better at on the baseball field help your game in net?
Yeah, I think I played baseball all the way growing up, was never playing it at a very high level or very well, but a game that I always enjoyed. And I think it's it's a game that's so focus based. Like, it's not totally, you go through a baseball practice, it's not like you're totally worn out. But mentally, the mental side of baseball is tough when 1 for 4 is a good night at the plate. And just having to play your position well in the field sometimes to make up for being 0 for your last 22 at bats. And that very well could have been my stat line my senior year at Benilde. Yeah, I wasn't hitting them very well, but I played catcher during my time there, and obviously there's a lot of similarities between catching a ball and stopping a hockey puck. And Caleb Koski, who's now pitching at Indiana, and Jack Anderson, who's playing for JMU, those were my teammates. So just seeing their work ethic, and how top Division I athletes like that approach an everyday practice has also helped me, and how I approach my hockey practices and how I get ready to hit the ice. And so I'd say the biggest takeaway from baseball was probably the mental aspect. The mental aspect of, it can be going really good, and then all of a sudden you can't hit the broadside of a barn. And it's same as hockey. Hockey can go very, very well. It's very mental. People always talk about it's 10% physical, 90% mental, and that's, I think, 100% correct. You can be playing very well, but if your confidence is lacking, all of a sudden your game is going to completely drop off. And that can happen really in one bad game. You get pulled, all of a sudden that messes with your head. You give up a bad goal, all of a sudden it can just snowball on you. So I think the mental aspect from baseball is what I took most of away from it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like at the plate too. You fail 7 out of 10 times and you're an all-star in
Yeah.
baseball. And
Right.
you fail 7 out of 10 times in net, you play one game and you're done. Like
Right.
you don't
Exactly.
see the field or the ice again. And
Yeah, you're probably not playing with that junior team for very long if you're stopping them at a 30% clip.
yeah. Yeah. They might question why you even are on skates at that point.
Right, right.
Um yeah, so then at Benilde with baseball too, you ended up winning a state championship.
There was a state championship.
What was your favorite memory of that run?
I did not have a whole heck of a lot to do with that. That I was a sophomore at the time. But just being a part of that team, and Caleb Koski, I mentioned him a moment ago, one of my best buddies, him pitching just a gem of a game in the state championship as a sophomore. I can't remember his stat line probably perfect right now, but he had 13 strikeouts. I know that through 6 and maybe a third innings of work and over 100 pitches thrown. So he just put his body on the line to put us in a position to win that game, which we ended up doing in walk-off fashion off a shot off the left field wall. And then just seeing Thomas Lee come around third, and you see the third base coach bringing him in and him getting closer and closer, and then the dugout roars. Just being a part of that atmosphere was obviously pretty special and something you're not going to forget anytime soon.
100%, 100%, and gives you the itch. No matter what sport it is, I feel like it gives you the itch to just want to keep winning.
Yeah, yeah,
Winning is fun.
winning is fun. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's move on to present day. You're playing in the NAHL, the NAHL in Fairbanks, Alaska.
Yep.
What has been the best part about the Ice Dogs, either on the ice or off the ice too?
Yeah, I think from an off the ice standpoint, just it's a smaller community with no professional sports. So Ice Dog hockey is their Minnesota Wild hockey. If you're not at the game on Friday and Saturday night, you're either not alive or you're out of town, basically. So it's always a jam-packed atmosphere. So it's not the North American Hockey League. There's some of these cities that don't pull like the Norsemen, for example. You're competing with St. Cloud State. You're competing with St. John's, with the Wild. There's not a lot of room for North American hockey, but in Alaska, like I mentioned, it's the end all be all. So you're treated like a rock star on and off the ice. You pop into the grocery store, you're signing an autograph. Um, it's really been a unique experience in 2 years now that I wouldn't trade. And yeah, two very fun years and probably two of the most fun I've had playing the game. And it's a different vibe than it is in high school hockey, where it's all these kids you grew up with. And I have friends on every part of the U.S. now, from Florida, from California, I got a buddy on the team from Hungary. So it's definitely expanded my horizons, so to speak.
Yeah, and with the time difference, um, were you guys able to catch that USA Canada game? It
Yeah,
was 7 a.m. here, Central Standard Time. So
yeah, we
4
were
a.m.
we were fortunate enough actually we were on the end of a 2 week swing down here. We were in Wisconsin at the time, so we were in our hotel room. So thankfully it was 7 a.m. and not 4 a.m. like you were saying. Although I think we would have found a way to wake up for the 4 a.m. start too.
Yeah, yeah. I know.
But seven was plenty hard
Oh yeah.
after
And
playing
after
Saturday.
playing the night before, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah, I know. My brother and you know him too, Louis Wayman was um talking
Yeah.
about just these got Canadians and Americans both on the team, and they're just
Yep.
going back and forth with it. Was there any back and forth with? I don't know if you have any Canadians.
We do. Our captain, Luca Riccardi, he's a big Canadian guy, and he gave it out pretty good the year prior at the Four Nations. So we returned the favor for sure this time around. So that felt good to get him back.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
And then not to mention baseball getting it done as well. Not that we were sweating that out. I felt pretty good about our chances there.
Oh yeah, I mean the hockey just did the gold medal sweep too with the women's hockey, the men's hockey, and then the Paralympic hockey too.
I saw that the other day. Yeah, that's
Against
remarkable.
Canada in the gold medal game too. So
They can't get away from us.
can't get away from us. Nope. So with Alaskan hockey and I feel like a lot of viewers here just know kind of what at least it looks like in Minnesota. The um, college level and maybe not as much the junior level, but like then the high school level too. What have you found is the biggest difference between like hockey in Alaska versus Minnesota?
Um, like the biggest difference between my jump to high school to junior, or just
Either just playing in the state or the jump for that next level up too.
yeah, I mean, for playing in the state for sure, there's
Vitamin D supplements.
there is, yeah, right, a lot of vitamin D. There's two hockey rinks, I think, in Fairbanks and the surrounding area. And then the next closest one, you got to drive 7 hours to Anchorage. And then the two or three that are in Anchorage might be the only rinks. Um, in the state. So from being able to drive 10 minutes to one town, 5 minutes south, 7 minutes north in Minnesota, and you run into a rink or somebody's backyard that has a rink, it's definitely different in that it's not the state of hockey, that's for sure. And I think if they had a football team or more like a baseball team, like a North American baseball team, like a juniors for that, if they had that, the community might draw more to that than the hockey. But the hockey is what they have up here. So they obviously all come to that. So it's more fun playing in front of 2,500 fans than when we come down to Chippewa Falls and there's less than 500 fans. So the hockey, every game feels like it's a playoff series, and we're coming down here the stretch here with 6 games left, all at home. So it's going to be, expect the atmosphere to be no less than rocking.
Oh yeah, and sure, it's nice not to have to sit on a bus for a minimum of 7 hours to
Right.
play those
We
games.
do all our travel on the bird, so that makes it nice.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so what? Obviously goalies, at least the majority of goalies, I feel like are very superstitious people, and a lot of them just call it, oh, it's my pregame routine. It's not superstitions. It's
Right.
routine. Do you have a pregame superstition / routine?
Oh, I think I've kind of grown out of it. I've been the last couple years, I've been pretty just, I mean, I have my routines and juggling and all that, but I don't have a lucky sock that I wear or a lucky pair of skivvies that I got on under my gear. It's more of a, I trust my routine more than a superstitious type of guy. Back in the day, it had to be this sort of breakfast, you know, have to be taking a nap at this time to this time, where now it's a little more, not loosey goosey, but it's a little more um, just open, right?
Yeah, it's the meal is, make it a healthy meal and not exactly, it
Yeah.
needs to be exactly this
Yeah, it was always
every day.
chicken and rice and broccoli, but that's when Mrs. Koski was making the meals, and now when it's on me, it's if we got some noodles and we got a little pasta sauce, that'll be good.
Yeah. Not eating deep fried American food.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
stuff that
We
you feel like you can still move around in, but
yeah, absolutely.
um yeah, so you're also, again, just with the juniors game, there's, you're playing on average at least, 2 games a week, and
Yep.
you've got a lot of other nights available, 5 other nights in the week available because you're practicing during the day. So you got into the play-by-play side of hockey with MN Hockey TV and that whole crew. So what drew you to that part of hockey and just sports broadcasting in general?
Yeah, I think it's always something I've found interesting. Obviously, I think I have an okay mind for the game, so I've always kind of thought it's interesting to listen to the announcers while I'm watching a hockey game. And it was my first time giving it a crack was my senior year in the fall. Pete needed some help covering some games at the super rink. They were swamped. Wasn't any super high level hockey, so I wasn't super worried about how I did. And so I was like, yeah, I'd love to help out and make a little dough here on this weekend. And I remember getting some compliments on some of the calls that I had that they put on Twitter, and thinking that, what the heck, this is something that I enjoyed. It didn't feel like work. It felt like I was watching a hockey game and kind of got to walk the listeners through the game the best I could. And I thought I did well. And then Pete was nice enough to let me try it again in the spring months with the Bantam-St tournament. Did a U10A girls tournament. So just kind of kept getting more familiar with it. And then just asked Pete, like, hey, this is crazy. I'm going to Alaska playing juniors. I'm wondering if there's any way this whole remote stuff would work from 2,500 miles north of here. And he said, well, there's only one way to find out. And we tried it out. And so I was doing games last year and haven't lost my job yet and plan to do some baseball here coming up, and even called a volleyball game in the early months this year, and yeah, soccer as well. So it's just been a blast and something that I don't find as work, and I just found I'm interested in it, and yeah, it's been a great year and a half, year and 3/4 with MN Hockey TV and the Live Barn crew.
Yeah, it's getting paid to watch sports, basically.
Right.
Which, if you're a sports fan, what job's better than that?
Exactly. Hard to complain about that.
Oh, really hard to complain about that, for sure. So what is on, and I'll caveat with this with maybe try to keep it as family friendly as possible, but what is the best chirp you've heard or given out yourself?
Oh,
I'm sure there's some things you probably can't, your
your
parents are watching this, so you probably
right.
wouldn't want to say it to them, but
I don't do a whole lot of talking during the games because I figure I say one thing that lights the fire under his belly, and then he comes and scores 2 quick ones on me, and then I really have nothing to say to him. So I never find myself really dealing anything out. I have, been called some pretty vulgar names in a couple of different buildings in the Midwest here, with it being a competitive division. Nothing that I feel is worth repeating for the viewers here, but just typical stuff like you sieve, like I'm going glove. The one that's probably the best chirp is just, I think, skating by the opposing goaltender and saying next one's going low glove. So he starts thinking about, oh, is he really coming low glove here? Is he coming low glove? And then you fly high blocker.
yeah.
So just little subtle stuff like that to get them thinking. But no, Civ is pretty run of the mill around here.
If you need to, I know you said you don't do talking, but if you want one to give to maybe your defenseman, they can tell them that the other player would make a great coach because the worst players always do.
Yeah.
That's another good one. Or ask him if his coach knows he's out there. Like that's another good one.
Yeah, lots of times guys will run into if they're just a tender player or they're coming up for a weekend, they don't have the name on the jersey. Just give them like they're gonna stitch your jersey or something like that. They're gonna get a last name on there.
Just look at the last name too, is even if they have it on, just go, wait, what's your last? Like look around and like, I don't even know who you are if I can't see your last name. It's another good one. All right, we got 2 questions remaining here, and then we'll let you go.
Sounds good.
For I guess the rest of your afternoon.
Yep, it's early afternoon over here.
But question here is, who has had the biggest impact on your hockey career so far?
Yeah, there's a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons. I guess from just a goalie aspect, Pete Samardzija is a guy I've been working with for Wyzetta. So I met him first my freshman year when I was playing Bantam-AA for them. And then I've been working for him playing under him for the last 3 summers now. So I've gotten to know him very well. He's also the PWHL, the Frost's goalie coach. So he knows his game. He played for the Gophers. And he's just refined my game so much from playing more like a Jonathan Quick just a couple years ago when I was a freshman to now playing more like a Philip Gustafson, more of just a positionally sound netminder. So completely changed my game and for the better. Grant Holler, also a goalie coach at Benilde-St. Margaret's, who I worked with for 3 years and into the summers, and somebody who also helped shape and mold my game to where it is now. And then my family, of course, making the sacrifices to even get me on skates. And it wasn't till first grade, kind of a funny story. We were always playing Miss Milliburn's first grade class. We had Hagen Burrows, who's at Denver. We had Cam Hendrickson, who is at UConn. We had Koski, who's playing baseball at Indiana, but easily could have been playing junior hockey. Jack Anderson, who it's the same story there. All 5 of us in a first grade class playing mini sticks in the back for free choice. And I'm sure you can imagine that there were a couple bloody noses and a couple bumps and bruises when we got playing back there. And that's another spot where I fell in love with the game. And I talked with my teacher just nonstop about hockey. And Mrs. Milliburn, it got to the point where she just told my mom, like, you have to sign this kid up. Like, he's got me at gunpoint here. Like, you got to sign him up. And finally, it was my parents made the decision to sign me up. And I think it's probably the best decision that they've made for me in my life. And it was a hell of a lot better choice than putting me in basketball, because the Lord knows that would have been a bad idea.
Basketball might have been better for their wallets.
Yeah, they would have
goalie,
probably been a little bit happier with the basketball.
Put goalie in front of any piece of hockey equipment, and it at least doubles in price.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now the trade-off is, usually you don't have to pay the fee because teams just, associations need goalies. So
yeah.
But last question here, and we just got a few more minutes. But what advice do you have for anybody looking to play past the high school level?
Yeah, I think my advice to anybody thinking about playing past the high school level would be, one, just to enjoy your time in high school. There's so many kids that are playing right now that are so eager to get to juniors when they're a junior in high school, or get to juniors for their senior year. And that's great and that's good. And I think if you're in a position where it's like you're dominating high school hockey to such an extent that you actually need to go play juniors, I think that's the only exception. I think, like, your years in high school are probably the most fun, like, just pure joy for the game. Like, you're playing with your buddies you've grown up with your whole life, chasing a state championship, which in Minnesota is the end all be all. And you're on TV for 3 days and have all your friends watching you. Like, chasing that state tournament is something you're never going to get back. Like chasing a Robertson Cup, it's super, super special. And we're gearing up for the playoffs right now, and we're excited to have a chance to compete for that trophy. But it's not the same. It's more of an individual based time. Once you get to juniors, you're working to move on. So
Right.
You're working towards that, but the end goal is to be in a higher league at the end of the year, if that makes sense. It gets more individual, so it's not such a pure just joy and chase for that cup like it would be a state championship. So I think first things first, to enjoy your high school years and not feel like you have to move on early or do before and afters. I think the high school elite league does a great job showcasing your talent in the fall. You don't need to miss out on all those memories that you can't get back, if that makes sense. So my advice would be not to feel worried because your peers are making that jump early or whatnot. I'd say it's almost a fool's choice to move on, I think, early.
Right.
Unless it's you need to.
Right. And
you're dominating.
That's, two things. One, you're still playing with your friends that you played mini sticks with back in the classroom. And you're now competing for a state championship on TV. And it's like you're still playing with those same, people may go to different schools, but like you're either playing with or against them. And it's like playing against them is just as fun because now you got bragging rights. And my other thing too is like, if Casey Middlestat, who's now, carved out a pretty decent career in the NHL, if he came back for his senior year at Eden Prairie, you can come back for your senior year of high school.
Absolutely. It's not something I think you're not in a rush to get there, I guess would be my advice. if that makes any sense. But
Right. Yeah, no, that's great. Well, we'll let you go here. Thank you for
yeah,
taking
thanks
the
for
time
having me
today.
on.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we'll have to do this again.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get Lewis on. Well, and we'll
Yeah.
bug him and see what he's up to.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe
I
we should
seen
start.
he's gotten a couple fights here, a couple Donnie
Oh
Brooks.
yeah. Oh yeah. We might have to start planning our 2.0 right now because it'll take that and it'll by the time we get it scheduled, it'll be enough time to
Yeah,
in
exactly.
between. All right.
Better get it on the books here.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, Chuck.
Yeah, thank you again for coming on. Thank you to Mason for sitting down to chat with us today. We wish him the best of luck in the rest of his career. Thank you for sitting down to watch this video until the very end. If you like content like this, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for more interviews and Minnesota sports content. Comment down below who you want to see next on the show. We'll see you next time. Peace.